Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. So I've been asked by some of the viewers to make a bit of a tour, or have it take them on a tour of my library. And so this is what this video, inshallah, will be, a bit of a tour of the small library that I have. And while it is bigger than me, it's still small compared to what many shuyukh have. So just starting from here, this is the section of Seerah that I have. And up at the top here, I have kind of some of the smaller books of Seerah. And this is like the Seerah of the Anbiya. And then coming into Shama'il, which isn't necessarily Seerah, but it's connected to it. Like the characteristics of the Prophet ﷺ. And then Madkhal. This is also a good book that'll tell you about getting into how to study Seerah. And then some other books, and of course, Ṣaḥīḥ Muslim. These are the first books that I went through in the Seerah, and I went through it in English when I was a new Muslim. And there's also Shamal al-Nabi. There's also they say this is the best tahqiq by Dr. Mahir Fatḥ. And he made this one. This is a nice print. Also, Urjuz al-Tumi'iyya. This is the Sharh, also by the same author as the Madkhal, al-Ilm al-Sīrah al-Nabuwiyyah. Very good. And then there's also Lu'lu' al-Maknoon. This is Mu'asir. And this is a great book if someone wants to look at it from the view of a Mu'asir. Then I have also two different copies of the same book. Here's Seerah al-Nabuwiyyah, Ibn Hisham, and Seerah al-Rasulillah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Same book, but this is a different tahqiq. And while this one is okay, this actually has a lot more in it when it comes to helping somebody read and understand it. It's got a lot of work in it, and a lot of the scholars have talked about just how great it is. And some of the benefits of it is it will give you a basic understanding of some of the words in here that would be what you would call like gharib al-siyah. So that's a very good benefit, and it'll give you kind of the mulakhas of this book here, which is Rawdat al-Unf. And so this is the sharh of Seerah ibn Hisham. And that's a good one. Then also we have Bidayat al-Nihaya. So of course it starts off with the Seerah al-Anbiya, and then Seerah al-Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and then after like the Khulafa, and then it goes on to the end, and then towards the end it goes to the last day, and it talks about that. So this is also, so that's kind of Seerah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and the Prophets. And then also we have Seerah al-A'lam al-Nubala, and this is by al-Imam al-Hafiz al-Zahabi. And of course, this is a major book that tells about many of the scholars before, and it's also a good place for ibr and whatnot for somebody to ponder the lives of those who came before, and they can get benefit from that. Also, here's some more. This is more about Tariq. Of course, I have when it comes to Tariq, there's a lot of books that are out there, and this is barely touching the surface. Then there's Shifat, which is also it's about the rights of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, which is a major book, and also some other books about like what happened after the Khulafa and whatnot. And then this is also this is another book.
Sorry, could you say that again?
No. And so this is also another book, which is a mukhtasar of Rahiq al-Makhtum. So Rawdatul Anwar. This is like a mukhtasar of Rahiq al-Makhtum, which is the famous book that I mentioned up here. So and then there's other books here as well. This is also an interesting book. This is called Jalal al-Aynain fi Muhakamatil Ahmadain. So it contrasts the lives of Imam al-Ghazali and the things that he went through with Ilm al-Kalam, and kind of the hardships, and he went into almost like insanity when he was delving into Ilm al-Kalam. Then he came out of it. And then also comparing that with Ibn Taymiyyah and how he stayed kind of on the same track the whole time through. While both of these are imams in their fields, but he kind of compares the contrasts of their lives and kind of what they went through. Also, this is then I have al-Isaba fi Tamyiz al-Sahaba. There's also a good book for understanding this is by Ibn Hajar, and this is a book that compiles all of the Sahaba, or all who have been labeled as Sahaba, what they narrated and what they're known for. And then here's also Tahdhib al-Kamal, which is for Ilm al-Rijal. and that's also a major book. And then this is like the mukhtasar of this. So, and Taqrib al-Tahdhib. And so that's also by Ibn Hajar. And then after, so these are the books that I have here for, this is also a small book about some of the Sahaba, which is also an interesting book as well. That gives some of the stories of some of the Sahaba that are not well known. And then Shadarat al-Dhahab, also more biographies. Then this whole shelf here is pretty much for Tazkiyah, with of course the best Tazkiyah that comes from like studying the Seerah. And then also down at the bottom, these are the books of Ibn al-Qayyim. And I didn't separate his books into different sections. I just kept all of his books together in the general Tazkiyah section, although some of them are like Seerah related, such as al-Maʿād, and then a lot of them are Tazkeya related. And of course it takes a while to go through his books, and I'm working on some of them right now, such as Tibyan, and also this is for the Aqsam al-Quran, and this is also a very interesting book when it comes to, it's like Tafsir, because he goes through the Tafsir of all of the times that Allah swears by something in the Quran. So he'll do like Tafsir of that oath, and then also like the surah around it as well. Sometimes he'll do like Tafsir of the whole surah, and that is really interesting. And then also here, some more of the books of Ibn Qayyim. I still haven't gotten all of his books, and there is a Majmu'ah that is like 70, I think it's like 72 volumes, that has all of it, but I've just been kind of getting it piece by piece, some of the books of Ibn Qayyim. And occasionally, I will buy books like this. This is before I was really knowledgeable about buying books. So I bought this book, which is al-Ilm al-Muqin. And so I bought this book, which is not necessarily the best taban. As you can see here, it's already ripping apart, and it's this is what you would say is like the Egyptian style. So while it has all the tashkil, which is nice, but you'll also find that even while it has the tashkil, these are like really small, and the binding itself is already breaking apart, and I barely did anything to it. Like I haven't done any like bad wear or tear on this. It's just, this is the way it is. As opposed to this is like the nice tahqiq of the same book. And then I wanted to get it later after I had that other one, just because it made sense for me to get the larger book, which would have better, it is definitely going to have better tahqiq of the nas. So like the actual words will actually be proper, and also break it up into different sections. And it'll also have takhrij for a hadith a bit more, which is nice. So then this is kind of the section of Ibn Qayyim. A lot of it is Tazkiyah, and that's kind of why I made this shelf. A lot of it for Tazkiyah, and also Hadith al-Anbiya. And this is also a famous work. Of course, there's probably a lot of hadith that are da'if and whatnot in there, if not mawdu'. But it's a famous work, and it also has a lot of biographies, a lot of stories that are ibr. And also Hayat al-Sahaba, very well known for all the tabligis out there. And also there's a Ṣaḥīḥ Hayat al-Sahaba, which is basically taking all of the fabrications or the narrations that are very, very weak, taking them out and making into a smaller version. And of course, like that's not always the best way to deal with like when it comes to Tazkiyah and Fadail al-A'mal. Not always, you don't always take out all the weak narrations, because there's a reason that those are there. There's also Mukhtasar Minhaj al-Qasirin, which is basically a Mukhtasar of Ihya Ulum al-Din by Imam al-Ghazali. And this is also the Taban that is Dar al-Fayhat for this. And it also has a lot of, so it will have here, it has a lot of takhrij that is done on the works. And so that's a benefit for this book, because this book definitely has a lot of mawdu'at, like hadith that are mawdu'a. And here's some other books for Tazkiyah as well. Hayat al-Salaf, bin al-Qawli wal-A'mal, and whatnot. And these are important. So this is Sayyid al-Khatir. This is the Majmu'ah. Not necessarily in the right place, but it's a Majmu'ah because I had Majmu'ah of Ibn Rajab here. There's Majmu'ah Rasail by Ibn Rajab. And there's also a lot of Tazkiyah. His books are filled with Tazkiyah. And this is also another very, very good book that I read at the recommendation of Sheikh Ṣaḥīḥ al-Muslim. He recommended this book, and after reading it, I can definitely see why it was a very good recommendation. And also, this book is actually within the Majmu'ah here, but I read it from here, and here it has like takhrij, but you'll see sometimes their takhrij goes crazy. So like this is they'll mention one hadith, and then he'll go off on takhrij, talk about every single place where. So sometimes it can be hard to sometimes read the book by itself, because you'll just find like the takhrij is so much. And occasionally this will happen with some of these books. And when it comes to Fadail al-A'mal and like books of Tazkiyah, it doesn't always, like the message isn't necessarily based on the Ṣaḥīḥ of the Hadith. Like the Hadith could be weak, but the message that comes across from the Hadith is the main point. And so that's why it's, it's not always the right way to look at it in just that way. Also the Kaba'ir. There's also another book. This is similar. The way that they dealt with it is they went through like a ton of takhrij. And so they'd go through all this takhrij. And at the end of it, I just want, oh, it's a hadith is da'if. After all the big story, they'll give me a story of everywhere that came, the whole takhrij of who said what. And then at the end of it, okay, hadith is da'if. I wish they would put that at the beginning. But that's how sometimes the muhaqqiqin, they go off and they will give you a lot more than what you necessarily need. At least depending on who you are. So also on this side, so that's just a little bit. On this side, I have some adab, and it's like adab of Arabic. So these are books of adab. And here's like the mu'allaqat and some of the shuruh for mu'allaqat, Sharh al-Burda by Imam al-Zarkashi, Majma' al-Amthal. And so these are something to help with someone developing their Arabic, and also get to know the ways that the Arabs speak. And of course these take a while to go through. I haven't even opened up this one, but these are of the major books that someone should have. Like I was going through al-Bayan, and definitely يحتاج إلى بيان. So like some of these books are very thick, but for someone who is well versed in Arabic, then of course like this is a way for them to strengthen it. And these are the books of mantiq that I have, just a small bit, but you don't necessarily need a ton of books of mantiq. And I also have some other books, just like miscellaneous books of like science and whatnot. Alright, so the other section here, this whole section here is pretty much all hadith and shuruh for hadith, and that's the point of it. So here's the Ṣaḥīḥ al-Bukhārī and Dar al-Ta'sil. This is like the best of the best taba'. There's also another taba', was it Maktab al-Sunnah, or I believe that's what it's called, and that's also very good, and they came out with something which is nice. But Ṣaḥīḥ al-Bukhārī is in like 8 majallad here, and it's nice though, like the way that they break things up. And so like for reading, let me see here, it'll be nice. It'll tell you where the other hadiths are, if there are multiple versions of this hadith, and it'll also give it'll give like a bit of the gharib, like if there's gharib al-hadith, it'll give you an explanation of those strange words that are there, so you can understand it. And there's also adab al-mufrad, and also Ṣaḥīḥ Muslim. And there's also I had a Ṣaḥīḥ Muslim, which is just in a single volume, just a single fat volume. And this is the one that's broken up into multiple volumes, and this is so it can have extra space, and if there's any differences in the wordings from the different nusakh, then it gathers them all together. Alright, and then so there's the Sunnah Nabi Daud, and then also Sunnah al-Tirmidhi. And I read this here, and this, of course, Sunnah al-Tirmidhi is one of the best. This is actually where the first of the books that I finished was Sunnah al-Tirmidhi, and then Muslim. In that order, and Sunnah al-Tirmidhi is amazing. And then there's also Sunnah al-Maʿād, and also an-Nasā'i. And I also have a Muslim Imam al-Darimi, afwan, and also Muntaqa. And these are of the publications from Dar al-Ta'sil, which are very well known for that. Also coming down here, Targhīb al-Tarhīb, and I still haven't gotten into it yet. And then some of the other books here, the Jami' Usul في Hadith al-Rasul. And this also brings together all the different hadiths that are of the same type, brings them into one place, so you can look at every single hadith of this similar wording. And this is a great way for someone to get to know this hadith. So you have one hadith and there's like maybe 20 different wordings of it, and within all of these books, so it brings it all together in one place so that you can see all the different wordings of that one book. This is the one thing that's great about Muslim, Ṣaḥīḥ Muslim, is that he will bring together all of his hadiths are put together in the same place, as opposed to Sahih al-Bukhārī. His hadiths will be scattered across, you'll have a similar hadith scattered across many different chapters, and so you won't necessarily know all the different wordings that come in that same hadith unless you were to gather all the random wordings that he has in the different chapters and put them together. As opposed to Muslim, he puts them all together in one place in a very coherent order. So this book puts together all of the Kutub al-Sitta all together in one place, so you can look at all of their wordings at once. Here's the shuruh, going into kind of the shuruh of the Kutub al-Sitta, Fatḥ al-Bārī. And right after I got this, like the next year, they come out with, so this is Risala al-Anamiyya. And so right after I got this, then Muassasa Risala, they came out with their their new one, which it's probably better, but khalas, I already bought this. So this is the version I'm going to go through, Fatḥ al-Bārī. And sometimes there'll always be like a better tab'a that will come out afterwards. And khalas, if you already got a good enough tab'a, don't go running for the best one. But if you can try at the beginning to get a good one, that's what matters. And also here's Sunan al-Baihaqi, Sunan al-Kabir, al-Baihaqi. And this is good for the nas. This one is good for the nas. It's a Turkey. Alright. So and this also of the major books of Islam that they talk about, like the major books of Islam that there's like 5 major books of Islam, and this is of them. Alright, you can kind of see here. He doesn't necessarily talk about like the muhakkik. He doesn't necessarily give grades of the hadith, but Imam al-Baihaqi has stuff to say about all of the, or many of the hadith that he brings in here. So this is also a very important book, Sunan al-Kabir. And then also, here's an interesting book, is Ṣaḥīḥ al-Albani, which is basically a compilation. It's not by Imam al-Albani, but it is by the people after him. They put together everything that he made together, everything that he graded as Sahih or Hasan. They put it together and put it in one work here, which is nice. And so, like, if you want to look at what does he have to say about certain hadiths and different abwab, then you can see that there. This is put together by Sheikh Muhammad Hassan Abdul Hamid, the Sheikh, wafaqahullah. And then there's the Muwatta. I'm sure there's a better copy out there, but this is of the ones that was recommended by Sheikh Salih al-Awsami. So I got it in khalas for now. That's good enough. And then there's al-Awsat, which is important, by Ibn Mundir. And then also going down to some of the other shuruh of the hadith. This here. So of course there's also Mukhtasar Sahih Bukhari. I have some of the Mukhtasarat of them around here, just put in the middle. This is Tuhfat al-Abrar في جمع بين التمهيد والاستذكار. And this is a compilation of the 2 major works that were done on al-Muwatta by Imam Ibn Abdul Barr. And he has 2 works. One is Tamheed, and the other one is al-Istidhkar. And Tamheed is kind of in its own order. He kind of orders it according to the shuyukh. So he'll have so-and-so, the shuyukh of Imam Malik, then when he goes according to this. So it's not necessarily the order of fiqh. And then he also has another book, which is al-Istidhkar. Both of these books are really important. And Ibn Uthaymeen, he talked about that. He's like, I wish that there was a way to put these 2 together, you know, like so that someone, if they were reading, they could go across both of them. And so that like a student can read both of these books, because both of these books are important for a student. And so this has been put together recently. And of course, maybe some people have things to say about this. One of my other shuyukh, he's like, I wish there was a way to differentiate which is which. So if I was doing like research, I can't necessarily see exactly what is from Istidhkar and what is from Tamheed. So that's one thing. Maybe that's not necessarily the best, because there's no real way to see which is from which. but it's nice that it's put together in one way. So if someone were to read all of it, it's as if they did mutala of al-tamheed and istidhkar in a cohesive fashion. Wallahu ta'ala a'lam. And then there's also this is a sharh Tuhfat al-Ahwadi, and this is the sharh of al-Tirmidhi. And then I have some shuruh of there's a shuruh of Sunan Abi Daud, and this is by al-Khattabi and also by Ibn Qayyim. And so I put him over here as opposed to being in his group over there, because this is all hadith. And this is also the big sharh of Ibn Raslan for Sunan Abi Daud. This is also an amazing sharh, and the tahqiq is really, really nice. And even just the way the book is published is very, very beautiful, and it has a lot of work. And I believe that there's multiple muhaqqiqin that did this, and they each, I think, Majalid has its own muhaqqiq on it. And so they kind of worked on it as a team. And of course, sometimes with big major works like this, it makes sense to work with it as a team. There's also Sharh al-Salihin. This is the larger one of Shaykh Ibn Uthaymeen. He has another sharh which is Mukhtasar. And so there's one that's big and there's one that's smaller. I have the bigger one here. And also there's another sharh for Riyadh al-Salihin, which is more Mukhtasar by a few authors here. And also Sifat al-Salah by al-Bārī. And this is of the first books I was given, which is a beautiful book. It was a gift for me. I was very beginner and just starting. And yes, I only have one volume of it, but it is of the first books that I was reading when I was just a new Muslim. Someone gave me this, and it was also great to read through. And I actually ended up reading some of it with one of my shuyukh. He was going through Jart of Ṣaḥīḥ al-Bukhārī, and so I brought this with me to class, and he was like, "Oh, this is cool that you read the Arabic, and then you had the English right next to you." And that was at the time when I was still struggling a little bit with Arabic, but it was helpful. Also, these are other books for Mustalah, Mustalah al-Hadith, Tadrib al-Rawi, and also al-Nukat and Fatḥ al-Mughīth and whatnot. This is a sharh al-Nuzhat al-Nadhr, and another sharh al-Nuzhat al-Nadhr, al-Hadith, Ibn Salah. They have a new, this same tahqiq, which is for Nur ad-Din al-Aitar. There's a new tahqiq, or like there's a new publication of it from the same publicators as this, which is my go-to, which is Dar al-Minhaj al-Qawim. They just made a nice publication of Ulum al-Hadith in this, from this publisher, Dar al-Minhaj al-Qawim. And this is I like this particular version of Nuzhat al-Nadhr, and definitely given a lot of attention. This is like my go-to book. What I like about it is at the end it has the matan of Nukhbat al-Fiqh, and then it'll have like the little numbers. You'll find that there's numbers next to each sentence, and this sentence was basically somewhere where you can find out that sharh. So you go to that page and it opens up the sharh for that, which is very nice. And then down here, these are books from the beginning. There's like Bani Yadayk. I sold some of them way back in the day. And then the rest of these are like books from Azhar. And then these are books from Azhar. And they have lots of, they're books for the Ajanib. They're interesting. Like these are just a little bit, this is stuff with Thaniyat Thanawi, or Thalith Thanawi. So this is like their third thing. I didn't necessarily write anything in it, but I read through it very quickly when I was going through the Imtihanat. But it's kind of made in this kind of nice way of like a curriculum format, and they have lots of these books. So these all I had to go through and test from them, and these are like different types. There's also in Tarikh for like the history of Islam and everything. Also, some of these books are interesting as well. Let's hear Adab, Balagha, wal Urud. So they put all of these in the same book, and it makes for an interesting way of studying. So you'll have like one section which is dedicated to Balagha, another which is for Urud, arud, and also you'll have like adab in the middle of it, where they'll talk about different types of adab. So, and then these are the books from the kulliyah. So, some of these books are from them, and there was a while, like a year or two, that they actually didn't go through. They didn't actually print out books for us. They said you can get the e-books, and that was terrible. And so these are here's some more books of the shuruh for Hadith al-Ahkam. So there's Udda, which is this is from the student of Imam al-Nawawi. He's also a Salafi in his i'tiqad, and he's very clear about that. He's of the major students of Imam al-Nawawi. He has a very good sharh of Umdat al-Ahkam. And also Fatḥ al-Alam, which is a very good sharh for someone starting up in Shafi'i fiqh and wanting to study ahkam, the hadith of ahkam. Very good sharh for someone to start up, because it's very mukhtasar. It's kind of like Bulugh al-Maram, except it's even more mukhtasar. But it gets you all the things. Then after that, Bulugh al-Maram, like this is a sharh for Bulugh al-Maram. And this kind of compares all the four madahib, and it shows where they get their different views from, how they understood the hadith, which is a great view. And this is by Nuruddin al-Aitar, rahimahullah ta'ala. And also Awn al-Ma'bud, this is also for Sunnah Abi Daud, and Subul al-Salam by Sanani, Amir al-Sanani. And then this is also the best version of the Sharh Imam Muslim, when it comes to a Ṣaḥīḥ Muslim lil-Imam al-Nawawi. So this is the nice tahqiqat. That's a newer one. That's very nice. Of course, like this, I have another version which is Dar al-Fiqh. That's at my other place, and so I study in both of them. And this one is much better, and it has a lot of like the tahqiq is really nice. It has all the tashkil, which is interesting, and also like for a lot of the other books that are referenced in it, it'll have like the maraja down at the bottom, which is nice. And this is of the books I'm studying currently. That's my Shaykh Ahmed Rushdi. And then also here are some other books. These two books are really important. There's Ma'alim al-Sunnah al-Nabawiyya. This is the compilation of pretty much every single hadith that is sahih or hasan, was put into one place and put into a great order. And if someone goes over this, then you pretty much have exposure to every single hadith that's hasan or sahih, which is great, without any repetitions. So all of the hadith you could figure out just in these three mujallad, which is nice. And so I finished this one. I'm working on this one too, which is another version of the same idea, but alongside of this, it also has a sharh of the ahadith. So this will actually give you, as some of the wordings of the ahadith will come right at the end, from whether it's from Ṣaḥīḥ Muslim or Fatḥ al-Bārī. And so he'll put just like a really, really short sharh at the end of it if it's needed. And then also this is Bulugh al-Maram, and this is by the tahqiq of Dr. Mahir Fahl. And so we went through just this part of the library. Of course, there's more to go in this, and I'll probably make a part 2 for al-fiqh al-Shafi'i, and also kutub al-lugha, and also we have usul al-fiqh, and we also have aqidah, tafsir, and some of the current projects I'm working on now.